Hey, what's up, guys? It's Tobin here. Thanks for checking us on out. Much appreciated. If you like this, I got a new project that I am working on. It is called The Porpoise Pod, which is a multi-episode podcast every single week, available for you on all your listening podcast platforms. It would really mean the world to me if you guys would click the link in the description, subscribe it, download it. Would go a long way for supporting your boy here. So thank you for doing that. I think you'll enjoy the content. I'm doing it with my guy Alejandro Solana. Still doing 6 to 10 every single weekday with my boy Leroy Horde. You guys can, of course, get that every platform there is to get it. But if you guys are YouTube viewers, you guys can get the youtube.com/theticketmiami. And there are a couple clips up there of the Porpoise Pod as well if you guys want to sample it there, if I haven't convinced you with this pitch. But let's get into a little Dolphins and Ravens game week, shall we? I think this is interesting from a couple of standpoints. First of all, you have two teams coming into this week. Both got wins in week one. And you have two teams that are very interesting points in their franchise's history surrounding their quarterbacks for pretty different reasons. You know, the Dolphins are still trying to figure out whether or not Tua Tagovailoa is their franchise quarterback, while the Ravens are pretty sure they have a franchise quarterback in Lamar Jackson. It's just a question of, do you want to invest in a guy who bases a lot of his skill set around running? And, you know, would you give that a ton of guaranteed money? And this is obviously got an intertwine with the Miami Dolphins because Lamar Jackson's from down here. And he is a beloved figure by a lot of people in South Florida and is an inspiration to a lot of people down here in South Florida. And so when he's out there and he's liking photos of himself in a Miami Dolphins uniform, especially for those down here who are not convinced that the Miami Dolphins quarterback has the goods, you know, you're going to get a little people in a tizzy down here. Now, in fairness to Lamar Jackson, he has said that this was a troll move, wink, and that he was not really interested in joining the Dolphins. That, in fact, he was just trying to stir it up because he was getting so much back and forth on social media. But, you know, that is where we're at right now, and they are at a standstill, and they're not negotiating, and he looked pretty damn good in week one. He is a dynamic weapon. Now, that being said, the other thing that's interesting about this is these two teams played last year. They're not divisional teams, and a lot of the faces are the same, especially on that defense. And they did a really, really good job against Lamar Jackson. Mind you, going into this game, the Dolphins were 8.5-point underdogs at home. They were 2-7. They were reeling in a bad way. They had lost a bunch of games in a row. Then Jacoby Brissett came in and won the week beforehand. I think it was against Houston, if memory serves me correctly. Don't, get your pitchforks out if I'm wrong on that one. But this was an interesting one because it was Thursday Night Football. The Dolphins had a really, really tough time with their defense and were very lax and passive and just think everything was going bad. Everybody remembers what last year was like early on in the year before they went on their run nearly making the playoffs. And this was a game that was more of a coronation for Lamar Jackson than it was a celebration for the Miami Dolphins. Lamar Jackson, there were articles calling him the homecoming king. You know, that this was the guy, he was going to be maybe the most popular guy in the stadium that night, and he played for the other team. And this was a real turning point game for your Miami Dolphins, especially from an aggression standpoint. They blitzed the holy hell out of him. I mean, they really were cutting everything loose for him. They were rough with him. They were roughing the passer on him. They were aggressive with Lamar Jackson, and they had a lot of success against Lamar Jackson. It was a one of the real signature wins and moments of the season. And it was interesting because the Dolphins had their own drama that they were dealing with at the same time. Because here you have Lamar Jackson, the homecoming king, and the Miami Dolphins were embroiled in what was some controversy surrounding their starting quarterback because Tua Tagovailoa was dealing with a finger fracture, his second injury of the season. He had suffered the broken ribs against the Buffalo Bills, and then he had this finger fracture that kept him out the week before. And a lot of people thought that he was going to play this week, and Brian Flores held him out. He did not start him. Now, why was that? This was a very interesting thing. He started Jacoby Brissett, who had just gotten a win the week before. Was he riding the hot hand Did he truly believe that Tua Tagovailoa wasn't ready? Interesting things that they had surrounding this. Now, Tua ends up coming in. Everybody knows the story. Comes in with about 12 minutes left. Jacoby Brissett, he is, he got his knee banged up, and he's cleared to come in. And Brian Flores is like, nah, you just stay there. And they end up going with Tua, and Tua has some really, really big moments in this game. Now, there are some things that are going to be very, very different in this matchup. One of them being that the offense is completely revamped. For a little bit of a jarring of your memory, the leading receivers in this game for the Miami Dolphins were Albert Wilson and Isaiah Ford. Jalen Waddle had like one nice, I think, like 35-yard catch from Tua. But your leading receivers, again, in this game were Albert Wilson and Isaiah Ford. Albert Wilson had that huge play from Tua that really set them up for the game-clinching touchdown late in that game. But things are going to be different in a lot of ways. One, because they have a completely new offensive mastermind behind this type of thing, but also because you got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle in a even more prominent role for this team, and the expectation that they are going to be a force and a tough team to guard because of all that speed, everything that they got going around. But this was a real good performance that they put up against a guy who everybody thought was going to smash them in Lamar Jackson. That he was going to come in here and that he was going to absolutely wreck them. And for them, they've changed a lot of their phases as well. They don't have Hollywood Brown anymore. They had Devontae Freeman as their running back in this game. Now they have a little bit of question going into this one with their running back situation, because J.K. Dobbins, people thought that he was going to be back maybe for week 1. He was listed as questionable. He's still on the mend from an ACL. Kenyon Drake ended up getting the bulk of their carries last week. Old friend, Miami Miracle. Shout out Kenyon Drake. And it's a little bit of a question mark about whether or not he's going to go. I'm sure as this week goes on, we'll get more clarity on that. But the Dolphins may have their hands full either against a former foe or against a guy who had a good rookie season before he was dealing with the ACL last year. They did deal with another couple of key injuries from this past week. Another former friend, Jawan James, he has torn his Achilles again in his first game back in return from his other Achilles injury. So that's a huge bummer for the former Dolphins first-round pick. Kyle Fuller, their cornerback, is also out for the year with an ACL. They're also waiting for Marcus Peters to possibly come back, as he's coming back from his own ACL the year before. He was also questionable in week 1, but they held him out. And I don't know if this was Jets maintenance program or if they're just being uber cautious with him or what the reasons were behind that. But here we are. This is where they are at right now going into this week. And, they won last week 24-9 over the Jets. Joe Flacco was a quarterback for the New York Jets. For those who are not keeping up with Jets land and their MILF-loving first-round pick, Zach Wilson still on the mend from his knee injury. And he was sacked 3 times. They got Calais Campbell. I love Calais Campbell. Got a special place in my heart in the U. These Ravens, they always feel like they get the best Canes on their team, man. It's always a thing. But hopefully Jalen Phillips can be the Cane that outperforms Calais in this one. But Calais is just an OG monster up the middle. He's so hard to handle with. Justin Houston, they each had a sack last week. So it'll be an interesting thing because we really don't know going into this one with the Dolphins offensive line what the situation is going to be. Mike McDaniel had said that Austin Jackson is getting MRI on his ankle. So he had said on Monday that in an emergency situation, he could have played. Now that the adrenaline is kind of worn off, they're trying to see what the situation is with Austin Jackson, and then where does that leave everybody. Robert Hunt, who was a sneaky star of this Baltimore game, for those who don't remember, he said that he thought the line has handled the shuffling well in the last week.
That's fine, man. We all get paid to do what we do. And I think we got a room full of guys that are capable of playing any position. And that's what it was. And I think guys did a really good job of being ready when the name was called to play different positions, even including myself when I played my one little rep at right tackle. So I think guys are ready. So that's exciting. We got a bunch of guys in the room that's willing and ready to play any position.
Moment's notice, dude. You got to keep it ready. Now, of course, Robert Hunt was also a star in this Baltimore game, as he had the iconic touchdown that never was, because the Dolphins, who had a 6-3 lead, 3rd and goal, about 13 minutes left, Tua gets under some pressure. 13 minutes left in the game. Tua gets under some pressure, and he throws it to Robert Hunt. And Robert Hunt takes off. Takes off and does just a marvelous dive into the end zone. It was majestic. The most majestic big man touchdown of all time, except it didn't count because he wasn't allowed to touch the football. But it was just, it was so unbelievable. It was one of the greatest photos of the year with him just reaching over the pylon with that just glorious big man athleticism. Everybody loved it. It was one of the moments of the season. Even if it didn't count, I think that Robert Hunt is always going to be beloved for that one. And he was asked if he has got any plays lined up for him this week from Mike McDaniel.
Asked coach about some plays at running back this week against the Ravens.
Yeah, that's my shine time, man. So I don't know. Nah, I doubt he got something for me right now, man. But I don't know. We're gonna keep working. Hopefully, throw me something, man. Later on in the year, probably.
Dude, it is shine time. They should let him go out there. I mean, if anybody's gonna cook up something masterful, it should be McCoachin. Mike McDaniel, get the big man some love, man. Give him something out there to go, and I'd love to see him try and score a touchdown. He looked like he knew what he was doing as soon as he got that ball. Took off. Like it was no issue at all. And then as far as the game plan going into this with Lamar Jackson, like, will the Dolphins be aggressive like they were? They tried to get some of that out of the snowman, Javon Holland, and he wasn't biting on it.
Once Josh Boyer and Mike make a decision on this, it won't be revealed publicly, nor should it be. But how curious are you heading into Wednesday to see if Josh Boyer decides to blitz you and Brandon nearly as much as he did against Baltimore last year when he had 38 combined blitzes, most by 2 NFL safeties in a game in many, many years?
That is a fabulous question. No problem. That is a fabulous question that I am not going to answer.
There you go. Boom. I am not giving you anything on that. Nice try, Barry. Nice try. Listen, he's not the sports buzz, one of the best in the business for no reason. He knows what to ask. He is a man who has been around a lot of sports down here in South Florida. And you tried to get old Javon Holland with his beautiful cowboy attire. This is something that he revealed. He is Quick Draw Jev. That is his new nickname now. What can we say? He looks marvelous. I mean, what can Javon Holland not do? He's doing the 3 count on folks for sacks. This guy is just a delight to have with everything that he is bringing to this Miami Dolphins defense in his young Dolphins career. I think he has quickly risen to the high ranks as one of the most popular guys on the team. But this is going to be a fun one to look ahead to because, again, it's 2 teams with some interesting ties with the fan base Lamar Jackson has down here, his future, the doubt in Tua, all that type of stuff. But it's one of these where also Tua could just be like, he can hold it up kind of like Belichick, like 2-0, baby, 2-0 against Lamar Jackson in that situation. Speaking of him, I heard this Ryan Fitzpatrick was on the Levitard show, and I mean, just remains just such an unlikable show pony. First of all, the headlines that's going to go around all there today, I see it going viral today, is that he believes he is that mother bleeper who Tom Brady was talking about, which of course he does. Now, I'm not saying he's wrong, but like with the idea that Derek Carr could be that mother bleeper, he's like, I don't want to be the mother bleeper, because he wants it to be worth the idea that he was on Tom Brady's mind in some shape or form, that he was worth it. And, that is going to go a long way with him. But then he was just like, they asked him about the idea of Tua taking over for him. Did Brian Flores hate Tua and love him? And he goes, well, he obviously didn't love me too much because he benched me and everything was going right. I didn't think I should have been benched. Boo-hoo. Oh, boo-hoo. Still old wounds, dude. This guy's still up here belly aching and boo-hooing with that show pony act that he put up there for the media. He has a jovial, funny beard, and everybody falls for the act that this guy put forth where he was pitting everybody up against Tua Tagovailoa. He's got his guy Chan Gailey there, the Chan man, eating his tapioca, calling bad plays. And here he is, still years later, still whining and crying about it. Pathetic Fitzpatrick. And then to get mad at them because they asked him about the water slide. You know what you did. All right? You know that you went on that water slide and you busted your hip. All right? Probably made fun of Tua's hip, too. And then look who ended up as Hip Boy. You did. Show pony.